So, walking towards Lady Smith in Machita. From time to time, I think, because of the journey, we get to think about our lives, and think about things that have happened and just reflect a bit. So, I guess right now it's story time, reflecting on something that maybe because of democracy we don't talk about anymore, and we don't talk about extensively. I think there's a narrative that maybe seeks to blind us from some of these things, which is after democracy, racism yaphela in South Africa, which is a lie. And I think this little story, this little narrative, something that I'm reflecting upon right now, is being challenged, by my own life. And my first experience with racism was when I got to university at Wits. And it left a significant mark on my life. In fact, I think it changed the whole course in history. So this is still in line with the concept of breaking the silence, I guess, even though it's not within the agenda, but for me it's I guess it's a break the silence on a personal space, because it's something I guess that will live with me forever, so I will always draw from it, So when I was at Wits, I was a basketball player, then I became chairperson of the Wits Basketball Club, and through a couple of events and conversations and preparation, I was able to fundraise. I was able to get a sponsorship, and I was able to get bursaries. So one of the things was that I'd get basically my well-being taken care of by these bursaries. So in that time, I did quite a lot of work. I was awarded Chairman of the Year. Our club won Club of the Year, and one of our friends won Sportsman of the Year. And so we got the certificates, got the awards. I was awarded bursaries from the government. Fortunately, I still have those certificates at home. But none of that money was put into my account. I never saw any of it. I was never compensated for bringing in the sponsorship, even though I had spoken to the director of sports at the time. And also, I never got the bursary money, So as a result, I had to drop out in my third year. And when I approached our director of sports, he told me that black people are lazy and I should get a job. But that's just the least of the things that, came out of his mouth. One of the things I noticed then, a few years later, when I went back to visit him, because it kept bothering me, just after I published my first book, I went and I sat with him, and I spoke in the tone of, thank you for showing us tough love. I wouldn't be an author if it wasn't for the tough love. But I knew that I had experienced racism, and I noticed that the guy he wasn't aware of that he was being racist. In fact, when I got there, he became even more racist. But he thought that he was encouraging me, but I realized that it was just in his nature. He wasn't even aware that he was racist. He was just dealing with black people the way that he felt black kids should be dealt with. And running back, I wasn't the only one who was fighting for myself in this plight of mine. We also had the dean of students at the time who was also trying to speak for me, and we spoke to about, I spoke to about 3 vice chancellors, different eras, so this took quite a while. I remember me and my friends saying, it seems as if the school is like an all-boys club. It's run as an all-boys club, and they will protect each other. And it was then I learned that there is quite a lot of racism in these educational institutions that we attend. It's systematic or systemic, I think that's the word, and it makes it really difficult for us to get there. Now, it changed my life in such a way that, having done that much work, I went into a depression. When I had to drop out of school, I went into a depression. It lasted for about 5 years. Fortunately, I didn't kill myself, but I can see how that could have happened, because it was a very dark place. And in trying to find myself, that's how I got into personal development and coaching. So I became an author because I learned how to heal myself, and I wanted to pass that information on to others so that they may heal themselves as well. So in a way, if it wasn't for that situation, I wouldn't be the person that I am. But at the same time, that treatment set me back. Right now we're looking at about maybe almost 20 years. And also, I think it could have helped me advance better and faster if it wasn't there, if I actually had a supportive system from the university. And I used to ask myself that if you have a kid who is bright and shows initiative, and who's doing a whole lot more than the average student would, wouldn't it be wise to create programs around such kids so that they can thrive and excel, so that you can introduce them to structures and people that can mentor them and make them better? But no, that wasn't the case, and it was clear that it wasn't for everyone. It was primarily for us black kids. We know this because even with the approval of some of the projects, the white kids would have less hustle than we would. I mean, for instance, there was a ski club at university. Now, for goodness sake, in South Africa, a ski club, it only exists really once a year in winter when they go to Lesotho. But they'd be able to run their bars on Wednesdays and have a vodka bar and raise funds with minimum resistance. For us to have a party on a Friday to raise funds for the club, we would have to go through all sorts of hoops. And in fact, to be quite honest, it wasn't really permissible to be having parties on a Wednesday. But it was clear to us that it was a group of white kids who could have vodka shot parties on a Wednesday at varsity, and it was normal. And we would go through hell and high waters to have our parties on a Friday. And that was clear. It wasn't something that was hidden, you know. So also remember, Uti, when I got to Wits University, I had never experienced racism before, because in high school and primary school I was taught by black teachers. So the whole concept of having a white person discriminate against me because of the color of my skin was foreign to me. Especially because I had felt Tuguti, we are in a new democracy. So the Rainbow Nation was a reality for me in my head. And also I didn't expect to find such behavior in an institution such as Wits. You know, it's a place I held with high esteem. You know, it was more like a dream to be there. And so for me to be very active there was a privilege in my eyes. I thought we would be dealing with forward thinkers, people that are taking the country further, but that one incident and the fact that no one came to assist showed me how institutions in South Africa still need to develop and move to a place of recognizing their own prejudice and discrimination. And also the fact that the education system needs to intently run to develop black people as full participants in the economy and also in the thinking structures of the country. But I don't know how far we are with that. That was my experience. And I hope things are changing as time goes. But I doubt. I still think that the power dynamic is still playing against the black child to say, let's have as few of them as possible make it through the system, and filter out as many as we can in whatever form, whether financial exclusion. Well, we can't talk about academic exclusion, but even then it will always be linked to finances, because sometimes it's hard to study it's hard to study on an empty stomach. So it will always come back to actually the economy, and finances. But my plight is to say, can we think holistically about education and black kids, and also understanding that white privilege is real, money privilege is real, and you always have an upper hand if you have those things, and you'll always be struggling if you don't. So this is my version of a personal reflection in breaking the silence when it comes to educational institutions and experiences of black kids in South Africa. And it's real. So almost 30 years into democracy, we are still finding ourselves. We're walking here to KZN. The amount of poverty we're seeing is heartbreaking. The amount of kids that we see walking on these roads to school and the places that they live in is sad. Municipal services are terrible. Even when we passed by Newcastle, we even had guys who said, hey, please tell our story. Tell our story to others and tell them that there's nothing happening here. There's no future. There's no hope. Everyone is wishing to go to Joburg to find a sense of hope, but we know that as from Joburg that's also very difficult. These economic hubs can function on their own. These provinces can function on their own, but unfortunately the sad truth is that it's not. The living conditions for South Africans, especially black South Africans, are terrible. And this walk is showing us how terrible they are. So we still have a long way to go. But anyway, these are my personal reflections. And by no means are they affiliated to any of the organizations that are reflected on the walk. This is just a side story in terms of what I think and how I feel and what I'm reflecting on. And I'm saying let's stop this racism. Let's start rebuilding this country. I think we all have a part to play, and I'm sure we can, if we work together, I'm sure we can achieve a whole lot, and we can build a beautiful South Africa. I'm out for today.